Hello yogis, welcome back to part 4 of this video learning series where we will be building an end-to-end Fiori application supporting the eTag for concurrent updates and locking of data in a REST-based protocol in a REST-based environment. If you are watching this video, part 4 directly, I would recommend you to please find the link of part 1, 2 and 3 into the description of this video. Please do leave your comments. What did you like about the video and what do you want me to more do and enhance this video with more content? What are the topics which you find difficult in today's world in terms of working with your SAP technology? Please do let me know. So I would be focusing on my next video on that particular topic. If you would like to share some feedback, please don't feel hesitant to write an email to me on my email ID anubhav.abab@gmail.com. Once again, you can subscribe to my SAP UI5 and Fiori training, including ABAP on HANA training to become an SAP Full Stack Developer. So let's move on of a quick recap of what we have done by far. So what we have done in these series of sessions, we have first created a consumption CDS view in S4HANA system. Then we have created an OData service by leveraging the consumption CDS by entity reference. On top of it, we have implemented an eTag support with the gateway using the define method of MPC class. In the next subsequent steps, we have created implementation for exclusive optimistic locking on the test data which is going to get updated. And also, we have implemented eTag comparison, and just in case if the eTag comparison fails, we are throwing an exception. In this particular video, which you've been waiting for a long time, we will be now creating a Fiori application where we will see how these concurrent updates will be taken care when multiple users work with the same data in a REST-based environment. Because now you don't have a session persisted, it's a stateless communication, and there is no session which does exist in the backend for a connected user. So Fiori app would at any point of time doesn't have an idea whether that object is being changed in the meantime while I was updating an object. So that is completely now managed by the eTag support. All right, so what tools are we going to use to build this Fiori application? As we all know, some of you are already taken my UI5 and Fiori training. We are using SAP WebIDE tool to be able to create this Fiori application. So we have already discussed in UI5 Fiori training what are all the possible ways you can get access to WebIDE tool. All right. So now here what I'm going to use is I will be using WebIDE Full Stack from SAP Cloud Platform. I have already established a secure connection with our S4HANA tenant with my WebIDE Full Stack running on SAP Cloud Platform. If you want to know more details about WebIDE installation in your local system, please go to my YouTube channel and try to find out a video on how to get started with WebIDE Full Stack. So you can always find these latest and greatest videos, so many of them absolutely free on my YouTube channel, Anubhav Learning. And you can always go and check out these cool videos on a web on HANA, S4 HANA, SQL syntax, SQL scripting, SAP UI5, Fiori, Gateway, Launchpad, OData, GitHub, SAP Cloud Platform, Oops ABAP, WebIntro, FPM, BRF. All these things are available here. But once again, I would like to iterate. Going with these demo videos will not going to help you in a big run. If you want a successful career ahead, you got to subscribe to my training right from onlinefiorytrainings.com, where you can find one-stop shop for all your SAP technical learning, which is required today bare minimum for any BW developer or a BAP developer or a UI developer. If you are working as a software engineer in SAP domain, these are all the courses which are going to help you big time to be successful in your team as well as in your career going forward. All right, if you have not seen my video on where to get started, if you are confused about the direction in which direction you must go, please watch my video on my YouTube channel, How to Become SAP Full Stack Developer. That is going to give you a very good prospect about the market situation, where the market is moving. It will also give you a perspective about what is the career scope in terms of learning these new technologies like UI5, Fiori, Gateway, Launchpad, OData, and stuff like that. All right, let's come back. So I will switch to my WebIDE Full Stack already. And here in this WebIDE Full Stack, in my SAP Cloud Platform cockpit, I have already connected it to my S4HANA system. And we will not be demonstrating here how to do set up WebIDE, how to connect to S/4HANA system. That's something which is already covered in detail in my UiPath and Fiori training. All right, let's come back. So you can see this is the OData service we have created on top of that CDS view and enabled also an update entity set on the same. And I will be now creating quickly a project from template in WebIDE. And then later on, I will also design the update screen where we will try to update the product text, the description of the product in the system. All right, let's come back. And I see now my WebIDE is loaded successfully. So let me create a new project from template. So I'm going to right click here, create a new project from template. And there are a variety of templates available. You can also select all of these templates and see on the right hand side how does these screens will look like. Yeah. So you can see variety of templates all available here into the system. So you can see all the categories of templates over here. Awesome. Super. So I will be using maybe a list report application. So let's choose that. Fiori work list application I will be using. And I'm going to click on next button. And let's give a project name, and I will just also deliver this project to all of you out of the box. Please find the description here in this video to know about the link where you can download this complete source code of my UI5 project, including the CDS and the OData and update entity set method functionality. You can download it right away from my website, absolutely free. And then you will be able to put it in your company system and able to illustrate the same example and demonstrate the same to your team as well to explain them the concept of eTag end-to-end. All right, let's come here. ZOFT eTag support. And I'll say concurrent updates using stateless communication. Demo.oft. That's my namespace. And then say support for eTag in SAP OData services. And let's give next. And I will be now choosing a destination to my S/4HANA tenant. All right, let's come here. Just mention that it asks me my credentials of S4 system, and voila, it loads all the available OData services over here. Awesome. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to copy the service name, which I've already developed, put it here, select the service, and move on to the next step. In the next step here, now I'm going to decide which properties I would like to show to the user. So I would say it's a Fiori optimized Fiori application to be deployed to Fiori Launchpad. The collection which I'm going to use is the CDS. The collection ID is going to be sales order ID. And I will be using here the sales order ID as the title. Then I will be using the currency gross amount and the currency code as the unit of transaction. Awesome. Click on next and say finish. So basic template generates this simple Fiori application, which is a list report, where on the first screen you're going to see a nice list. Clicking on the list item, it's going to take you drill down to the details view. All right, let's execute this up. I'm going to run that on the sandbox.html with my real test data. So I just clicked on execute and it's launching up. I'm going to launch this in another session, maybe altogether. And just go and launch this in another session and also try to launch the same application in another session. So basically just imagine there are two users connected to the same application. Okay, so that's what exactly I'm doing. I'm having now two users, user one and user two, who are working with same application, and then they will try to simulate a scenario, the cases where one person edits an object, another one still did not finish editing. Yeah, and then one person edits and saves it, and then other person is trying to fire an update request. What happens? That's a concurrency, right? How do you handle such concurrency scenarios? That's our main goal, main intention, to support. And this is what was explained throughout the last 3 sessions. This is the 4th part. Once again, I would like to remind you, please look at the link here in the description of the video to find out the other parts of this the sequence of videos. So it will be helpful for you. All right, let's come back. And now it's popping up for credentials. Let's provide the credentials, and voila, there you go. It is loading now my sales orders right away right into my Fiori application. I can select any of the product and it drills down to my product details. Awesome. Or basically the sales order details. Yeah. Now what I want to do is on the details screen here, somewhere here on the details screen, I would like to design a nice view. And in that nice view, I would like to put some set of fields. Some of the set of fields will be display fields and some set of fields will be the input fields. And the input field which essentially I'm going to use is the text field, the sales order text. And that's what I want to allow user to edit. As a result of that, it should be fire an update request and my data gets updated into the database. That's the main requirement. So let's fulfill this step number 1, where we will now enable updation of my text right from here itself. So now I'm going to go back to my WebIDE full stack and just maximize a little bit. And let me just open the view 2, which is my object view, where I'm going to add a simple form. So let me first add a library dependency. Now once again, this requires a good knowledge on XML views and MVC architecture and modeling concept, the binding concept which we all have learned in SAP UI5 training. So if you have not taken my UI5 training, this is going to be a little difficult for you probably, or if you're already comfortable with UI5, then it's going to be simple for you. So let me just add the library dependency, sap.ui.layout.form, and I'm going to add a form now in the content area. All right, so let's do that. Just come down and there will be the content area for semantic. Just add that. You can also do one nice thing, guys. You can switch to layout editor. So let me show you layout editor. You can right click here and say open my view with the layout editor. So that makes it pretty simple and easy way of creating the view if you're not comfortable with SAP UI5 and especially the XML view coding. It's a nice layout editor here with UI5 in WebIDE full stack. You can use to drag and drop and put your controls nicely on the screen. Huh? So this is a good idea, guys. So let me just update and open the layout editor. So now you can see it's launching the layout editor over here, and we will be adding the fields of our choice as part of this layout editor. So basically I would be adding a couple of fields like sales order text, net amount, gross amount, and the currency code, and out of which the sales order text field is going to be an updatable field. Yeah, I will allow user to update the data in the text field. Yeah, that's our ultimate goal. Let's me maximize this. And I'm going to add a simple form control first of all. So just search for simple form. Just search for form. Oops, I don't see that. How come? All right, no problem. We can go to outline view and we can just check it here. This is my entire page, and on the content, I'll just right click and say add. I'm wondering how come it's not showing me here the simple form. This is surprising for me. All right, no problem. Maybe I will just go and add it via the code. So at times, this layout editor may not support certain controls, so that's completely okay. Maybe we can go back to the XML view. Go open with the code editor, and let's come to the content aggregation. And now in here, we will be adding certain fields. So I will be adding a label, and this label I will be giving text as the sales order text itself. And this is going to be surrounded by an input field. And I'm going to do the binding of this input field with the value property binding, and we will refer to the metadata of my OData to be able to find what properties it is exposing. So let's go to OData metadata here, and go to our entity type and find out what properties it is exposing. So we have a text property over here. Let me just copy that, come back over here and paste it in this section. Awesome. And this is going to be editable is equals to true. Let me also give an ID here to this field called ID text. This will be required later point of time to access the value. Similarly, I'm going to create 4 fields here. One field will be the gross amount. So I will just say gross amount. Then we'll be saying net amount. Then we will be saying the currency code. These IDs will be different. We don't need these IDs at this time. Just remove that. All right. And let me just go back. And I will be picking up here the gross amount. Just find that over here. The net amount. Bind that property here. And the currency code. And bind that over here. Make these input fields editable as false. You don't want to allow users to edit these values. And save this up. Awesome. So that's it, my code. And I'm going to now run once again the application. So let's go back to the application and refresh over here. With the new changes in the view, you should be now able to see set of input fields with text field as editable. That's what will be the ultimate goal. So let's run that up. And now once it opens, I will be doing a drill down. And there you go. You can see right now only euro is coming. There is something wrong. I think we got to add properly these elements. I'm not sure. Oops, I think I got the reason. Reason being they should be part of simple form control. We got to add them in a simple form control. So let me use the form library, simple form control, and then also the form content, and then paste them inside the simple form control. That's what was the need, guys. I save this up. Come back and refresh. Since we have router implementation in SAP UI5, I hope it will load directly the same sales order object on the page. We don't have to really re-perform the navigation. Awesome. And you can see, guys, the text is right now visible and it's editable as well. So now we will be able to edit this text over here, and we should be able to save this. So let me implement that logic. And I would be adding a save button first of all. So for that, we will just go at the bottom and we will be adding a toolbar. I hope we can add a semantic toolbar, and let me add a toolbar inside and then add a toolbar spacer just to make sure that I meet the Fiori guidelines, and then add a button with the text as update. And then we will have a press action called on save. So whenever you save, basically it's going to update the data. Let's come back and refresh and see if our toolbar comes up on the UI at the bottom with the update button at the end of the page. Basically that's the main requirement. And on click of the button, we should now allow to access the data and save that data back into the system. So let's see what happens as a result. Oops, it's not loading. Something went wrong really. And this is not probably the way to add a toolbar. Or maybe I'm just going to go back and I will probably add that right into maybe a simple button, guys. Should be enough to be able to test this logic. So I could probably not use this toolbar at the end on the page, and I would just simply add that over here next to my save button. Yeah. So that's my button. If you wish to give an icon nicely, you can give that, no problem. So you can say icon equals to SAP icon, save that up, come back and refresh. I hope it should render a save button now next to my input fields, which I can click and be able to now implement the save logic to the database table. Yeah. And that's always via the OData. I remember my last session where I discussed about what is that a UI understand. UI only understand OData. It doesn't understand BAPI, BADI, function module, IDOC or CDS, doesn't understand really anything, just understand OData. So now on update button, we got to fire a request with the OData model to update the data into the backend system. All right, let's go to the controller for this object view then. And it's here where we are writing the logic. So in this controller now I will be writing the logic for handling on sale. Right. And then we have event object as nature. And what I'll be doing is I will be firing this dot update. And I'll say false. Now you may ask me, Anubhav, why are you passing this argument false? There is a reason for that, guys. I will explain this reason a little later. And I will just implement this update method here, a new update method, making it reusable completely. And I'll say ignore changed version. Okay. Basically, it's for concurrency, guys. This flag is going to determine whether if there is a version already in the system which was changed, do you want to override or you don't want to override? That's basically the requirement. Okay, this is the reason I'm writing this reusable method and passing this flag value. So I'm saying first time when user click on save button, please make sure if there is a changed version in the system, which means when you are trying to update an object and in the meantime it was already updated by some other user, throw an error, throw a pop-up saying that, hey, there was somebody else who has changed the sales order in the meantime while you were updating, and would you like to reload or would you like to override those changes? Yeah, so that's the reason why I'm writing this flag. It's going to control that behavior. So what we will do now, we will just first get the path, the binding context path. That's once again part of my SAP UI5 Fiori training. Please subscribe to that training to understand the concept of binding context, binding path, all that stuff. So that's the path we've got, and I'll say var my sales order. And then what we'll do is we'll say this dot fire update, and then I will be passing here the path, and then we will be passing here my sales order object, and that's what we will be doing. So once this update is done, we will also pass the third argument, which is my whether to ignore the changed version or not. By default, first time it goes as a false, and this is going to be a promise. So I will say when the update request sends me the response, then what should happen? Yeah. So as a result of that, then will be a promise here, and the second promise is actually rejection, which is catch. Both promises will have a function. So please watch my promise video on YouTube in my learning series. What is a promise in JavaScript? That's also declared or explained pretty well, dedicatedly about promises in JavaScript and how do we use them. Yeah, please watch my YouTube video for the same. All right, then and catch, and then we have to implement now this method fire update, which is actually going to talk to the OData service and going to finally bring you the update. So these three arguments will be the input parameters. And this is going to return a new promise. That's what this method does. And we got to now implement this method calling the OData model, and via the OData model we are going to fire an update. So this returns a new promise, and this function is what is the promise function. We have it here. Let me just create an OData model. Get the model access, this .getView.get model. That's a default model. OData model is the default model for this Fiori application. And this is the model we will be using to make a call to the OData and ask OData to please update my values. So that's my binding path to update. That's my sales order object, which you need to update. And then I will also have curly braces here for success. On success, please resolve the promise, and on error, please reject the promise. Yeah. So resolve and reject, that's what I'm doing actually for promise, resolve and reject. This is how promises works in JavaScript. These are the two arguments for promise. Awesome, guys. And now watch out what happens on click of save button. Whenever user clicks on save button, let's imagine first time there are two users who are updating the record and one user updated and already saved it. Everything went well, it got saved. In the meantime, second user was just finishing the update, and now the second user clicks on save button. Basically the update button, it hits the call to the backend, and the backend it tries to check the eTags like in last video I've shown you, and then it gives you an exception, and that exception get caught here in the catch block. And if there is no exception, then the update is successful. So we can throw a message here, sap.m.message toast, and then say show update was successful. Yeah. And that's it. But if the update is not successful, what I want to do, I want to throw a pop-up to the user asking user the choice. What does the user want? Does user want it to be override the object what they have in database, or does the user want actually to be able to refresh? Yeah. So this is what we'll do. So now we will check here error code. So if error code is 412, which is actually the error which we coded in the last session. For precondition, that will be the error code which you will receive here. And if this is the case, then I will ask user, hey, would you like to override the existing object? Would you like to reload the UI? So for that, I will also just put here var that equals to this, because this is how we can access the controller instance in the promises, in the callback functions. And then I will say, please open a dialog, open a choice to the user. And let's implement this open choice method over here. And in this open choice method, I'm going to implement a dialog. So let's add a dependency in scaffolding template. What is scaffolding template? All these things are covered in my UI5 and Fiori training. So you guys can understand here, there are many things involved. Maybe you will be able to implement this example as it is, but not be able to do things the way they should be, the way you can understand them end to end. So for that reason, this is my recommendation to all of you to please subscribe to my UI5 and Fiori training, including a WAP on HANA training, so that you become an end-to-end expert. Awesome. So let's use this dialog. And we're just going to come down and open choice. We're going to open a dialog box now. The dialog control we will be creating. So let me just say var that equals to this. And just please open a dialog control. So I'm going to say var create a new dialog equals to new dialog control. That's another control in SAP UI5. Let's give a title for confirmation, or I can say concurrent update detected. That's the title of the dialog, and I'll say it's going to be a type of a message to the end user, and then we will say will be having some content. Oops. And then we will say, hey, looks like this sales order was changed by some of your colleagues already. What would you want to do? Yeah. So that's the question I'm asking to the user. What would you like to do? And as a result of that, what user can tell me is I would add a button on this dialog. So never copy paste the code, guys. Copy paste is not a good way. And I will say my first button is going to be override. I will give a choice to the user. Would you like to override this? Yes, if you would like to override, I'm going to give you an opportunity to override. I'm going to write a function. And this function, you can just fire an update one more time. So I can say that dot underscore update. And this time, guys, watch out, watch out. I will be passing here true. So initially, first time when we call, we pass this flag as false. And now, since user chosen to be overwritten, then I'm writing it as true. And watch out, guys, what happens when you pass this as a true. So from here, this update, it reaches to this guy. Here, I'm saying ignore changed version to true. It comes. And what we got to do here, when we are firing this request, ignore changed version goes as true into this fire update API ultimately. Okay, and in this fire update API, we have to now handle this code in a way that whenever somebody is passing this as a true, in the header of my OData, all right, in the header of my OData, I have to pass an eTag parameter with ignore whatever version is there, just blindly override. We have to tell the system, hey, when you are writing an update into the database, ignore, just simply override. So I'm going to create a parameter here, var parameter equals to curly braces, and we will be passing this parameter, right? That's what we will be doing ultimately. So I will just put here parameters, and then for the parameters we have to now also pass the value for eTag. Okay, so that's what we'll be doing. So we'll pass success as resolve, error as a function, reject with this error function dot status code, and then we will say m parameter dot eTag is equals to star. Star means please do that. Please do a check. And that will only happen when ignore that variable, ignore changed version. If it is true, then do that, please. So basically, please, if you are passing ignore changed version true, I am passing a special parameter here, and that special parameter is going to do my job. It's going to simply overwrite whatever is there in database. Yeah, it's not going to ask you whether tag is matching. It's not going to compare this tag with anything else. That's what we are doing, the handling on the UI side. If the flag is passed as true, if flag is passed as false, we are not doing anything special. And that's why logic to implement it. Awesome. So now let's come down, and this button needs to be also declared. Just go and add the button dependency and scaffolding for the library. This is pure JavaScript, and this is also covered in my UI5 Fiori training. Guys, if you're afraid of JavaScript, if you're afraid of learning XML views, MVC and stuff like that, please do come to my UI5 training, because there that course is designed for a web developer. Any web developer can easily learn it, because I'm also covering in that course basics of HTML, CSS, JavaScript and jQuery. The course is actually designed for developer. All right. So you must attend that course to become a full stack developer and become an end-to-end expert on everything. All right, let's come down. Still, we are left out with one more choice in the button. So the begin button is going to be your update with ignoring the changes of whatever is there, and then we will also have an end button. And I say refresh, and I say press, and you can just say window.refresh or whatsoever code to refresh the UI. That's what you got to write, of course, and then we can just close the dialog. All right, guys. And then what we got to also do after after this dialog box gets closed, this event handler gets triggered, and this event handler is going to destroy the dialog instance. All right. Cool. Woohoo! And now it's time to open the dialog at the end, and I say dialog dot open. Watch out, guys, watch out. Let's test this end to end now. And are we done? Dialog dot open. Yes, it looks good. And let's go ahead and test this now. So I will go back to the UI, and now what I will do is I will open it in a way that two users are trying to work with the same application. So I will open two sessions of my application and keep both the sessions side by side, and then see how does the behavior impact us when two users, or let's say same user with multiple sessions, basically concurrent access of same business object, try to get some update from the UI, right? So you can see here my first screen. So, and you can see also my second screen on here. So I'm going to place both of them dock to dock side by side. So let's imagine on the left hand side we have user 1, and on the right hand side we have user 2, who is going to update the same sales order. So now what I'm going to do is go to the first user, and we will have some sales order text, and I will say changed by user 1. And guys, in this case, update is pretty natural and it's going to be successful because absolutely no problem. User 1 and let's say user 2 also opens the same object, and both of them are now editing. So user 1 finishes its update and click on update button, and since the eTag status is intact with the server, it's going to allow this update naturally. So click on update button, and voila, you see there's a successful update done already. But now user 2 is not aware that user 1 has already fired an update, right? And now user 2 is in under impression that there's nothing changed, or probably doesn't even know that something has changed. And what will happen? Let's see what happens now when user 2 tries to send an update. So in this case, the user 2, when it's trying to send an update, it sends the existing eTag what it has. The existing eTag was the eTag which was loaded initially at the same time when user 1 was also opened the app. But in the meantime, user 1 already updated, and the eTag value on the server is now changed, because change date and time is the eTag value. And user 2 on the client side, however, still has the old eTag. When this eTag goes to the backend, it causes a mismatch. And when that mismatch occurs, we are anyway throwing an exception. So you can already recall this code where we are just looping over if match value of the eTag and comparing with the value which is currently there in the database. And if they don't match, basically it matches false, then we are unlocking the object and we are just saying, hey, there is a problem, precondition did not match. So that's what is happening. So let's see, click on update from user 2 and let's see what happens. And voila, there you go. Wow, guys, superb. You can see concurrent update was detected. And now user has two options: either refresh the screen to see what was changed by user 1 and then fire an update and just click on update, or override. In case of override, what am I doing from the UI side? I'm sending the value of if match in the header as star. I will also show you it in the network call, and we will also debug and see on the backend system what exactly happens when that value comes as star. So I have added some small piece of code also here by putting a read statement to check if the if match value is true. If the if match value is true, which means it's a wild card, we should not then compare eTags at all. We should simply go for update. So that's the condition I have already added. I just put a breakpoint here. And let's go back and choose override. So first observation which we will be doing from user 2 side, what will be the network call which it goes. So click on override, and it's just going to send some call. And you see the call is gone, and we can just go to network tab and see what call is gone. If you carefully observe the network tab here, and you just scroll down, you would see the header if match flag is going as star, which means we are now sending a wild card in the eTag. I'm just telling the server, hey server, please don't consider eTag at all. Don't even compare both the eTags, what you have with you, and just simply override, simply fire an update for me. I don't even care. So that's what user have done. Consciously user has chosen in and overwritten, right? And guys, the UI timed out anyways, but we can debug here. So you can check here the if match, go inside the structure, and you would see any value is coming as X, which indicates a wildcard. And if any value comes as X, I'm simply ignoring this comparison of eTag and jumping directly to an update. Directly to an update. And as a result of that, my changes by user 2 will ultimately prevail. Yeah. So let me just come back and refresh my UI on user 2. So whatever change user 2 have done would simply prevail, guys, in this case. So let's do a last test one more time. So I'm just going to go back. And you can see this was the text which user 2 was setting. And now if user 1 tries to edit the same thing once again, user 1 is going to get an error once again. User 1 is going to get a pop-up saying overwrite or not. Yeah, because user 1 is still referring to the old eTag, which was then in the meantime changed by user 2. So now there you go. You see override. So user 1 overrides the change. It goes to the backend and overrides an update was successful with an override. Awesome, guys. That's a complete use case. And now at the same time, once again, I'll just try with user 2 and say update, and you would see again override pop up. And I again say override, the user 2 overrides the change. And guys, you would also observe there is this small error message which is also coming in the background somehow, right? This is coming because of the standard error handler, which comes by default when you generate the code from a SAP Fiori project. All right. So for suppressing that, you can simply go to this error handler.js here, and you can just comment out this piece of code which is on attach request failed. So just comment out this piece of code, and then you can simply go ahead and refresh the UI and test this, and it's going to work like smooth. Yeah. So this is what exactly is going to happen. So hope you enjoyed my video. If you feel this video is really helpful for you and help you understanding the concurrent update, which has been a long pending question from my side. Many of you have asked me this question in my UI5 and Fiori training. Also, some of you have asked me in case of my CDS training, Anubhav, how can we manage the concurrent updates, the concurrent handling, locking of data while updates, which we typically do with the typical ERP system with LUW and InQ concept in an ABAP system. How this can be achieved in the Fiori paradigm with the web on HANA. This is how we do it end-to-end scenario. Once again, thank you so much. If you feel this channel and this video helped you, please subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon. Please do not hesitate to share your feedback, your comments below in this video. And also don't forget to watch all my other videos on my YouTube channel. You would also see the link once again for the other parts of this video into the description of this video. And please do share, like, comment, and feel free to send me an email if you would like to subscribe to my UI5 and Fiori training. My email is also given into the description of this video. Once again, thank you so much. Anu signing out. Have a nice day and goodbye.